All right, welcome Gabe from Umbra Space to the Geospatial Index. Let's start off simply. Give us the elevator pitch for Umbra.
The elevator pitch is we make the Earth better from space using commercial remote sensing. So we have satellites that can see any place on Earth globally, and we take images and we can listen to radio frequencies and send that down to people who need them. There's the elevator pitch.
Great. I think that was a sufficient length to fill an elevator, right?
What is a synthetic aperture radar? It's a little complex, but
yeah, it might require a few elevator rides. Maybe we can dig into it a little bit more, I guess, with the next question. So, what is the synthetic aperture radar niche, and to what degree, in your opinion, are you dominating it?
So I think our biggest strategic advantage and what has made us so big is that we had a lot. Traditionally we're not able to raise money from VCs. So VCs were always like, well, this is really strange. So we had to build a company around making money ourselves. So if I had to say that Umbra had a niche, it is like technology with unit economics as such that we're able to make money, which in the space industry is very rare. It's very niche.
I love it. Yes, that is an emerging theme in my efforts to track the world's geospatial companies, that EO stocks are, down a lot. And that's one of our later questions. Okay, I mean, I have more questions really about this particular niche. Maybe we could have some sort of a definition of what synthetic aperture radar is, how it contrasts with other remote sensing platforms, or pixels, streams of pixels.
So yes, so our satellite, satellites that people traditionally think about are Google Maps, right? So you think of a sensor like a camera. We have optical sensors in our head. We know what it looks like. Synthetic aperture radar, or radar, or I should say radar imaging, is very different. What we do, much like a bat, is we emit a signal, bounce the signal off of Earth, and then measure the distance between our spacecraft and the signal and produce imagery based on that. And it's on our website, and I'm happy to send some. We can also take a picture of the satellite if you want later. So it's black and white imagery. It does not immediately look normal to a human, but the higher the resolution, the more optical it looks. And for machine learning or AI, the big hot topic, it's very, very precise, because you have like billions and billions of samples, which will help. You can create very interesting models and detect objects with much more clarity.
I guess, yeah, and you're not affected by clouds, weather.
No cloud. We can see at night. We can see through clouds. It's a measurement. So I think that a lot of people think about it like imagery, which is kind of how our brain's been trained. But sophisticated users are using the measurement, and because it's a radio wave, it's unaffected by clouds. It's unaffected by nighttime. It's unaffected by a lot of things that happen. We are affected by radio waves. Sometimes we have interference, but.
Can it also go through smoke?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I remember on Twitter in the past couple of weeks, there was an image from you guys of, I think, Manhattan, and it seemed to show all these buildings.
Yeah, it was just fine, I'm sure. Not affected by smoke, which is very interesting if you have like a oil fire or a forest fire. So, I live in Texas. I'm a resident of Texas. I want to be very clear about that. But I was born in California, which is really troubled by wildfires, mudslides, et cetera, all these natural disasters. And where I've seen the imagery be really useful is you can actually show where the fire is through the smoke. So firefighters can plan how they're going to go attack the fire. It's really neat.
That's quite topical. Where I'm from in Australia, I can imagine you might have a few government clients that would be interested during fire season too.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I think we've triangulated your niche a little bit there. We've got an image in our minds, if you like, of what we're dealing with. So let's have a look at some of the more investor questions.
Sure.
So what's the skin in the game of the owners and management?
Like how much equity do we have in the company?
Yeah, I guess we're talking about incentives.
So I would say that we have, oh God, I hate to say it. So we have significantly more equity than any, at least publicly traded companies. The common probably accounts for half the company stock.
Yeah, so we can say that the owners.
I don't know the exact amount. I don't have my cap table handy.
Yeah, but the message is that you're well incentivized and aligned with the company success.
Oh yeah, this is all I do. All I care about is increasing the value of the stock and not diluting it.
Sure. Yep. That's another key draw card for investors. Yeah. Okay. So how is Umbra working backwards from customer needs?
Well, the entire company is customer oriented. I mean, you can see it from the very beginning. We designed the satellite to serve customer needs, and then we continue to think about customer needs like very deeply. And you see that, and we hired Joe Morrison of Twitter, the most famous man in mapping, maybe, who is a massive customer advocate. Like, so for that position, we didn't want somebody who had sold satellite data before. We wanted somebody who had bought it. Because if you're running product or customer success or anything that is customer facing, if you don't understand the needs and wants of your customer, you're screwing up. And if you take care of your customers, if you take care of your employees, if you make sure that the people who use your data are successful with it, that for businesses make sure they make money, for environmental groups, which is like actually solving the problem. If your top line is good, your bottom line will fall always.
So when I had a chat with Luke Fisher from Sky-Fi,
he lives down the street from me, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I think
out of all the places, we live down the street.
There you go. So we're talking with someone who lives on the same street. I'm interviewing. I'm just going up the street in terms of who I'm interviewing here. Maybe you can help me find the next person. In his answer to working backward from customer needs, he said that he gets his staff out of the building, presumably to the offices of customers. What does the activity of working backward from customer needs look like at Umbra? Is it a similar thing?
So we're B2B. So like we're not B2C. The Sky-Fi is very much B2C and B2B, but we really only work with people who have used the data before or resellers. So for us, it's if you need a picture of your wedding, you're probably not calling us. But if you need like 20 images a day of like some set of sites for business intelligence, you probably would work with us directly. But the key to that was when we started the company many years ago, I didn't know how to build a satellite, right? I'm not technical. It's my co-founder's invention. I called people and it was the same problems. The data is too expensive. It is impossible to actually procure. I'm sure Luke went through all these. It's like it is the same things with every single customer. And I understand why those problems persist. It's because the technology on the satellite side could not meet customer needs, which is why we designed a satellite in such a way that we actually could behave very differently. So our satellite, so you don't make money taking satellite photos. You made money taking satellite photos, like whatever. All these satellite companies would be wildly profitable. You make money taking pictures over high demand areas. So it is the amount of pictures you can take over a high demand area in a short period of time, day, hours, that sort of thing. Because you have some areas which have extremely outsized demand relative to other areas that are, you know, in the middle of the ocean, no one's really looking at. So our satellite, we did a few things. We have a much larger and efficient antenna than any other provider. We have 1200 megahertz of bandwidth, and we have a very, very short settling time, which means if we fly over a region, we call it Texas, where I live and I'm a resident, we could go and take probably 10 to 15 times more pictures than anybody else. A lot of the optical sensors look, you know, directly down nadir or slightly off nadir, but with much more bandwidth and power and a larger antenna, we're able to see very, very far out on either side to approximately like as far as 1200 kilometers. So we're looking like this massive axe blade. And a lot of people in the market are, you know, somewhat constrained.
So the swathe is quite large. Is this what a synthetic aperture is about, that you're somehow able to artificially determine what the swathe dimensions are?
No. So the swath is defined by the bandwidth. It's defined by many different things, including the bandwidth. So if you have 1200 megahertz of bandwidth and a small antenna, it doesn't probably makes your imagery worse. So you have to have the right, you know, mix of size, weight, power. Everything is a balancing act because you're going to give up things. Like if you make decisions, you're going to give up other decisions. Like our spotlight size is smaller than somebody who maybe has like less bandwidth and a smaller antenna. So everything is a trade-off, but we determined that it is probably better to take a lot of high resolution images over a high demand area, which allows us to, in our mind, make much more money than others who may be pursuing a different use case, which is fine. I don't think that there's any flaw with pursuing a different business. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, sure. Okay. So a way to measure your success in having worked backwards from customer needs is to look at customer growth. Do you have any ballpark statements even about how that is?
I'd say that the growth, so I know the revenue growth really well, which has been really exponential. Right now we're hitting bottlenecks on onboarding. So there's so many customers trying to get the data that it is very hard to get them on. But I think that we probably get through all of our bottlenecks through summer. But I would expect, I mean, we're compounding a very, very high clip. It's high.
Okay, that sounds like a positive response on that one. So
it's like, it's going like this. It's not flat. So like you don't need a lot of customers in this industry, right? Because you have, the market is segmented in like 50% of the market. I'm not saying our customers, 50% of the market is probably the US government. Then 25% is allied governments. We don't really look at, you know, governments that aren't like Five Eyes or NATO.
Yeah.
We just don't, it's just kind of not, we're not going to sell to Russia, China, you know, et cetera. And then maybe you'll have 25% is like oil and gas, insurance, critical infrastructure, and then the bottom 1% of that 25% is everything you hear about in the news, like counting cars in a Walmart parking lot, or
Yeah.
I don't know, mining, like trading on mining, that sort of thing.
Yes.
All the fun stuff is like the smallest part of the market.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, so a bit of my career has been in oil and gas exploration. Somehow oil and gas has been basically half of my career. Is it common for people to use SAR for, like, do you have ground penetrating radar, or is it still surface returns?
So it's still surface returns where you look at interferometry. So if you wanted to, like, fracking is really big. I'm sure you've seen the SynMax stuff using our data. They'll look at the
SynMax
pool.
is next, by the way, on this podcast.
Okay, great. Oh, they are? Corey, you're
Yep.
making your way straight. They're
One
in
by one.
Houston. They're in Houston, so you're going like from Lakeway to Austin. God, I love those guys. So they're looking at, what's public is like, you can look at a fracking site, you can see the fracking crew, you can understand the deformation in the ground to see how big the like water pits are. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in oil and gas, but the widely known one is tracking the lids. So the lids on these floating oil tops. So like you put in more oil, the lids go up, and you take the oil out and the oil goes down. You can trade based on that information. And you really
on the tanks.
On the tanks.
At the tank farms. Gotcha. Yeah.
So you really need SAR for that, because if it's cloudy and like maybe a ship came and took all the oil out, you'd miss it. So you really need SAR, and then also SAR is a perfect measurement, right? So you're going from the rim to the lid, and you measure that, and you can ascertain exactly how much oil is in each tank.
So what's your vertical resolution then?
So we can see what the vertical resolution that we sell is commercially is 25 centimeters.
Okay, so you can capture 25 centimeter deviations in the lid height off the ground, or from the lip, you're saying?
From the lip. But
okay.
But there are worlds where you can either squint or use interferometry to see millimeter scale changes. It is so cool. Like if you're not if you're not using geospatial intelligence in like trading, like specifically oil, you're making a huge financial mistake. You're not going to know as much as somebody who is. Yeah. And not having information is the most expensive thing you could possibly do.
No, this is great, because my sort of main passion, outside of work at least, is actually investment analysis.
Great. Give me some tasks. Well, put them in the open data. Well, fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so-called spatial finance emerged from multiple directions. The one I'm most aware of is the satellite applications catapult at Oxford. They launched the spatial finance initiative. I'm guessing they're not the only ones though. But ever since I became aware of that, I wanted to somehow combine my profession, geospatial, and my passion. I don't like trading so much, but this kind of thing, using geospatial for trading, I do like. But I guess what
give me a use case. I right now will pledge. How much data do you want? I'll give you the data for free. We'll test it out and see how it works.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, it'd be great to.
Okay, so Box Mica, I don't know if you know them. They're in Florida. We have this massive open data set that we add data to daily, or like as frequently as we can. It's big. They were looking at a mine in Australia, and then they were just like looking at the data and doing change detection, like looking at it, and it was like a boom, there was a mine collapse, or not a, there's a mudslide, not a mudslide.
Some sort of deformation in the structure.
So you could see between the imagery, like a wall just missing. And I was like, hey, is that company publicly traded?
Right.
Like, I mean, and that's all free data. And that's something that, he could monetize, and which is great. And it's all free we don't take a fee. It's Creative Commons. You can take our data, you can put it on a coffee cup and sell it and not give me $1. I'm happy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I kind of, because I basically how my passions have collided, at least until now, has been tracking the world's geospatial publicly traded firms. We're at 193 now, I think, on about 25 stock exchanges, including the UAE, plenty in China, of course, plenty in the US. I reviewed one in Korea over the weekend. But this is like the first time on the podcast where naturally, I can say, spatial finance itself has bubbled up, so that's nice.
Well, it's the thing is cost. We reduce the cost of so like, I don't want to say the other firm's name, but there's a legacy provider that has like their price list indicates it's approximately a 78 centimeter image would be sold for $7,500. And we sell a 50 centimeter image for $750. So the real problem has been price. Like if you want to grow a market, you cannot keep the prices so high. It is madness. But because we're able to take so many pictures, 10 to 15 times more, I can drop the price by 90% and still make more money than the guys who are selling it for 10 times as much as me. And frankly, if you're looking at our image, which is 100% better in terms of resolution and 1/10 the cost, and you're buying the other data, you're probably making a very bad financial decision, because I promise you, all of your customers are buying data from me.
I mean, my first response to that is what it looks like is finally there's a real business person that's come into this industry.
Well, it's not, but it's so the kind of the deal that David, my co-founder, had is it has to be a venture investment. So like, I had a company before. I understand business, but the technology has to match a venture scale. So traditionally what has always happened is I've got a widget, or I have a satellite widget, it's great. I make $1 million for my satellite widget. And then VCs are like, $1 million. If we launch 100 widgets, then we'll make $100 million. But if your asset depreciation is $200 million, your overhead is another 100 million, you literally cannot make money.
You're going backwards.
I think that, so yeah, the more assets you deploy, the more money you lose. And this was something that was not clear 8 years ago. But now that there's it's a constrained VC environment, which we can talk about later, and let's talk about it now.
It's all topical, yeah.
Everyone is like, whoa, wait, what are the unit economics? It cost your satellite costs $20 million, and Gabe is selling imagery for $500. You're selling it for 4,000, and you're like, if you have to match that pricing, you'll only be able to make like $3 million. So it's like, I give you 20 million and then you give me 3 million back.
That's running a charity.
Yeah, it's running a charity. But I mean, we've been running charities for almost a decade in commercial remote sensing, but it's over. I mean, well, I don't know that it's over, but it should be over. For me, it just never made sense. So I was like, way back when, I was like, David, we can't do 20% returns. That's not venture. That's a worse return than a Taco Bell. It's got to be like 100% a year for like a decade, and it has to compound at 100% a year. And so we spent 2 years trying to figure out the technology that would allow us to generate that kind of revenue. And you really couldn't do it unless you could take way more pictures, which is kind of the the niche that we have.
So it sounds like you were the only company that should have gone public during the Earth observation SPAC boom.
No, why would I give up
but
that
you
equity?
didn't, and you didn't need to, I guess. So
But
that's
why would I
interesting. But it's
give
very
up that
disappointing for all of us public investors.
But so like, but I mean, well, I don't want to say anything negative, but like, if you have an ability to grow a business without diluting yourself, and more importantly, your employees. So like, I can look at my employees in the face and be like, I know that I've done right by you. I'm not like taking care of myself first. Like, I know like always from like day one, like David and I's comp was always like way lower than everybody else's. Like we wanted to make sure they were taken care of. And if you're going out and just diluting and diluting and diluting, a lot of the employees do not understand how bad it is for them. Because if you take like a lower salary, but you're like, I've got all this magic stock, and I'm not going to go and work at Northrop Grumman for 30% more or whatever, because my magic stock is going to be so valuable. But if that dilutes by 90%, then you're way better off working at Northrop Grumman.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of my formal training as an equities analyst from this online course I did at Stanford, where we calculate the diluted number of shares.
I know that course.
That's
a good course.
You do. Kenneth Marshall was the professor.
It's free online.
Okay, the one I did was $750. I'll have to do the free one as well. Basically free.
Yeah, they also have a good machine learning one. There's a lot of great free courses.
Okay, I'll look into it. Maybe we can. This was useful, interesting questions, but there's one I think that relates to what we've been talking about. Not to turn this into an interview again about Sky-Fi, but Luke talked only because you recently started selling via Sky-Fi, as I understand it. So has it been popular? Has Umbra been popular on that platform? How's it been going?
So I have loved Sky-Fi even before they sold our data. So just for the record.
No worries.
I love Sky-Fi. I love their UX is so cool. And I think it does so many great things for their customers. I don't want to, I would say that I don't want to speak for Luke, but I mean, certainly on our side, we've definitely seen the rate of sales go up.
Okay, so it's having the right effect then.
Oh yeah, because like if there's a customer that Sky-Fi is so good in terms of like creating value for their customers, your retail users. They also have very sophisticated users who use that platform. And here's why. If you go to Umbra, I can only give you like the best radar imagery in the world. But if you go to Sky-Fi, you can get the best radar imagery in the world. You can get the best balloon, the best drone, the best infrared, whatever. So Sky-Fi has a very robust offering, which will allow you to do really sophisticated mission planning, which we can't do. We are a data pipeline. And so what I don't want to do is go into like essentially compete with my customers, right? So if I start doing analytics on oil lids, then my customer's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, that's our thing. And it's like, I see this like vertical where these satellite companies are like, I know, I don't have like they don't have satellites that make money. So they're like, I know what we'll do. AI, machine learning, ML, big data AI. And then they go further down the value chain, but increase their burn substantially.
So I guess I wanted to pick up on a technical comment you made before about settlement time. I think that was the term you used. So to me, this relates to topics like how fast you can return an image, what your coverage and periodicity are. Could you give us a few details, I guess, about the tasking capabilities?
So, okay, different. So settling time is the amount of time it takes from target to target. So if so these high demand areas are pretty clustered, right? So if I'm flying from one area to another, let's say I need to hit Dallas, Houston, and Austin. If it takes me 30 seconds to a minute in between each target to settle the antenna, I probably would not get all of those tasks because you're whizzing over those areas of interest. Our satellite settles out very, very quickly. So we're able to hit all of those targets very quickly. But in terms of like Canopy, which is our tasking platform, I guess the specific question is how quickly can you get me a picture?
Yeah, how quickly do you return to the same location on the Earth?
Well, it depends on the geometry, right? So because so you have the North and South Pole, so the Earth is like round, and the top is like really small. So as we rotate, we have more access to the North and South Pole. So every 90 minutes per satellite, we have 6 satellites, we are seeing either the North or South Pole. However, the equator, which is big and round, like a big fat guy, we are seeing individual points on the equator much longer. I'd say our average revisit on I don't want to get it wrong, but it's on our website.
Yeah.
But our average revisit to a point, I think, is 88 minutes. It's up on a single satellite basis towards the poles,
yeah.
and then somewhere between 4 and 6 hours on the equator.
Okay.
But in terms of like tasking and delivery, I've seen a task come down in 5 minutes, like tasked, imaged, and then sent down through in a kind of controlled environment. There's not something we do like retail, but that's cool. And then
but that's such a contrast to, I mean, I don't know if it was Umbra. It was some Earth observation firm that I heard a part of onboarding new staff members was that they were given the task of going and buying a satellite image in a week or something. And
yeah.
Was it Umbra or?
I mean, we know we did that. Like, I mean,
right.
we do that.
And none of them
like,
could do it in a week, basically.
It's so hard.
Okay, and then now you're saying you can return an image in 5 minutes. So this is a step change.
No, I'm saying that we have in a controlled environment, right? So if there is like a controlled environment where we like have a ground station, we can task the satellite, have the satellite image, then turn back and send the image back down to the ground station. However, what customers should expect is a much longer time frame. So maybe I think we guarantee within 6 hours, I'm not certain, but I see times like 2, very common. And the customers love it because they don't expect it and we don't upsell for it.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's all the
like
same price.
A happy surprise.
Yeah, that $500 for a 1 meter image, it's like, if you task me that 2 hours out and we hit our ground station and take the image and it comes down to you in 2 hours, it is the same price.
Yeah, right. So maybe just stepping back a bit, like we've had SpaceX able to land rockets in the past few years. Is this a similar transformation where it's almost, is there an expectation emerging amongst customers that within hours for a given Earth observation constellation, some sort of return is occurring? It's no longer weeks.
Well, I mean, 2 weeks is insane. I don't even know how you could function a business that way. There's almost no point.
I'm just, I guess, trying to understand if there's been a step change on similar to rockets now routinely landing and that becoming an expectation.
I mean, the step change is something very unsexy, our license.
Okay.
So our license is well, one, you tell your customers the price, which essentially no one does. you kind of have to guess. And there's all kinds of upsells and all kinds of goofy little charges, like getting it within some certain period of time, like priority 1, tier 1 tasking, tier 2 tasking, it's all BS. It is, when we get the image, we deliver the image. When you task the image, you know what it costs. It's all these little things, and I'll explain it. So if you are a satellite provider, they can only take 2 pictures over Texas on a daily basis. If you charge $500, you can't make money. So what you do is you need to get as much money as possible for your 2 images that you can take. So it's like, we'll upsell here, like the base price is going to be $7,000, $5,000. We'll negotiate it to $5,000. Then we'll upsell you on tasking. We'll up-task you on priority. We'll up-task you on this and that. And it winds up costing $7,000, $10,000 for super high priority. Super high demand area. But the solution to that is just take more pictures. Like if you take 30 images per satellite, and then you have a whole bunch of satellites over a high demand area, then it doesn't matter. You're like $500, sure, $500, and we'll give it to you when we get it.
So you're taking the more commoditized approach to imagery rather than the bespoke.
Oh, the idea
low
is
frequency sales.
Imagery is not a jewel. It is a true commodity. It should be anyway. So like our objective is to race to the bottom as quickly as possible and make data as inexpensive as possible. We dropped the price by 90%, and I think that we still haven't dropped it enough. I mean, as we continue to scale and grow, and we have more launches. We have 2 more launches later this year, or sorry, 2 more birds going up later this year, I believe. And then 2 more, I think, scheduled early next year. As we have increased supply, and if demand increases against that supply in such a way that it makes sense to drop prices again, I will do it. Like, I mean, I want the data low. The cost has got to go lower, and the reason why is the barrier to entry gets lower and lower. So at $500, you're probably getting more, like slightly more retail customers, but at $50, you're getting like mom and pop surveyor. At $5, you're getting a college student. So I'd really like to see data come way down.
I'm really tempted now to ask you all sorts of questions about how much you want to grow your constellation by and things like that. But this is
we don't need a lot of satellites to do that.
I'd love to get to that, but what
whole thing?
Yeah,
it's like if you have to grow your constellation to 100 or 200 satellites, your asset depreciation is greater than your ability to generate revenue. However, if you have technology that takes 10 to 15 times more pictures than anyone else, you need 10 to 15 times fewer satellites.
Right.
This is like why I made fun of is the unit economics thing.
Yeah. If
you have a unit cost that is so low that produces so much revenue, then you can create all kinds of flexibility inside the market. It's fun.
Sure. You using the term asset depreciation, I'm translating that from the investor's perspective, at least the way I've been taught, as maintenance capex, but it's the same kind of concept.
So if you have
not to get too nerdy.
Well, no. So if you have a whole bunch of capex, and those assets are depreciating on orbit, right? As you know, and they're not generating revenue, or they're generating limited revenue, then you essentially, like every satellite is a data factory. If your data factory produces less data than the cost of the factory, it's insane.
Yeah.
You cannot make money.
This is the simple arithmetic again, that any business has to satisfy. But yeah, just to try to feed this into another topic that I wanted to cover. it was a great way to lean into it. So when I had a chat with Will Cattle, who's the CEO of Spark Geo, one thing we sort of spent a bit of time talking about was how the market seems suspicious of basically all of the new Earth observation stocks. And his overall view is that no one wants to buy just the simple vanilla rasters that they send down to us. People get value from the analytics or the processing you can do. We've touched on this a few times. You said that you don't want to use another term from this course that I did, forward integrate, and start doing the things that your customers do. So nevertheless, do you have a mind to the analytics that some of your customers try to pull out of or push over your pixels? Is there a way you try to serve your customers to make analytics easier? How do you think about the next step or the next step down the pipeline once you have collected something from using your imaging system?
But for us, it's all horizontal. I'm not competing with my customers. Is a very, very bad business model. It's a very bad business model in my mind, because you create a channel conflict and you don't want your customers to be worried about you or to hate you, which is like, it seems like Will may not like buying data from those guys. I don't know, Will, but.
Maybe I haven't asked the question the best I could have. It was a bit convoluted. I guess what I'm trying to say is there a way that analytics is done for synthetic aperture radar, which has improved recently? Are you contributing to any of that research? I mean, does your business, in a sense, live or die by the analytics that is done using SAR imagery? Bit of commentary on that. Perhaps that's a good way to look at it.
No, but our business, like all businesses, lives and dies by our customers. If we do not create value for our customers, we do not live. So you lower prices, you have permissive licensing, you have ease of tasking, right? So if my customer can get data in a much easier, low-cost way and make more money doing analytics, that's good for me. So like my job, my only job, I was with a data provider the other day and he's like, oh, blah, blah, like, oh, this is Gabe from Umbra. And I was like, yeah, this is so-and-so, he's my boss. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're my customer, you're my boss. Like,
right.
Like I work for you. Like, how do I make you money? And if anyone's not thinking about their business that way, and that goes all the way down, if you have a pawn shop, you should be thinking about how to best serve the customer. And I don't think that competing with our customers, doing something simple like change detection or something like that is going to serve customers, serve the end user of like the answer in any way.
Yeah.
So right now, if the last thing I want to do is compete with Spark Geo, or like, I don't even know what they do, but like, I don't want to compete with Skyfi. I don't want to compete with anybody. I want to just like do my thing, do it really, really well, and provide as much value for my customers as possible.
Okay, so basically, by the achievements you're seeking to make is to commoditize as much as possible SAR, and to have as many people as possible performing analyses, no matter how successful. I mean, obviously, you want them to be successful. No matter the scale of those, the quality of the analyses. At least the name of the game for you is to enable as many people as possible to start performing analytics using SAR imagery.
Yes,
at the risk of stating the obvious.
No, this is why we have this massive free Creative Commons data set. Like, I'm pretty sure we have the largest like raw image commercial open source data set out of any radar provider, which is very, very intentional. And it's about, I think, 100 images a day, so maybe something on that order. I'd like it to be more. And if we're not putting radar into the hands of college students so that they can't go and make money, I don't know what we're doing. You're trying to spend, if I could make I don't know, $4,000 selling an image once, or $40,000, like proliferating the data, getting it more widespread, encouraging the market, even if it's on the come, I'm happy to do it.
Yep. Okay. I think I can, see your strategy here. So, I mean, I kind of have to ask this question only because there's so much hype around it. But it kind of relates to analytics again. So maybe for Umbra, the latest AI rage doesn't apply so much, or is it making an impact?
I would say that any AI stuff would, we certainly aren't doing any AI stuff on the data, but we might be doing it in other places.
It sounds like something I have to leave there, and you won't disclose any more details about.
Look, if AI is not in your workflow or part of your business, if you're not thinking about increasing efficiency, you're probably making a mistake.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. All right, so final one. In the UK, at least, it's possible to undertake a geospatial apprenticeship. So what qualities, skills, or ambitions should an apprentice have to do well at Umbra?
So Umbra, we have a lot of core tenets. The first one, of course, is like, we're very, very customer driven. They're on our website, they're on the careers page. But I think that something that we really like to see is first principles thinking. So what I don't want is a really smart person who will open a book and do what the book says or what their boss tells them. What I like is creativity. Like, there is, in what we do, there's a lot of science, but a lot of what we do is art. Like, coming up, like, it was like we fold our antenna in a very unique way. We have some very unique IP around our radar. None of it was in a book. So I would definitely say, not think outside the box, but be creative. And engineers are incredibly creative, at least when you tell them to be.
I like that. The message is something like lateral thinking.
Well, the answer is not going to be in a book. It's like, oh, do this thing that nobody else has done before. As well, it's not in the book. Okay, great. Well, then come up with a way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a good message for any apprentices who might happen upon this podcast. Okay. So was it Box Mica that you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a is it a website, or I guess we can Google it?
Check out. I'll send you some of his stuff. It's on Twitter. It's so cool.
Okay, and this is a way for anybody to dig into this open source repository of.
Oh, no. On our website, no. So Box Mica used our open source data to determine a mine collapse. It was so cool.
Okay.
Our open source data is on our website. You go to the Umbra website. It's all over the place. You hit open data. It is all yours. Put it on a coffee cup. Put it on a cool T-shirt. Pay me nothing.
Yeah, I guess this is because I where I live, actually looking out the window, I can see Canary Wharf, which is the financial center of London. And I've often sort of thought, what could I do if I was going to walk down the street and meet some people there and try to sell them geospatial stuff.
Are you in Australia or London?
I'm in London. I can turn my camera around. I don't know if it won't look very good in the camera, but you can see HSBC, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, etc., all of those banks across the river. And I've always thought, what could I do if I went there and started doing elevator pitches to them? And I don't know, that maybe it could be something with this repository and signals.
Well, here, wait, let's see. Can I share this image? Here's a recent snap of London. Desktop window. Nope, don't have it. Wait, how do I do this? Okay, I'm going to tweet this at you.
Cool.
because I have no idea how to
It's all good.
make my computer work. Desktop/window. What is this? Give me, no.
You can share your screen if that's what you're thinking.
Oh, window. Oh, there we go. Okay. Look at the snap of London. Oh my God. Can you see this?
Oh, wow.
Look at that. So it's very, very windy that day. But like, here's your train station. A bunch of trains.
This is great.
Like, and then the real way to see if a SAR image is good is dark water. I'm like, why? I don't want to see speckle in my water. I want black, deep water. It's nice, deep black water. And then stuff that isn't metal shows up. So you have like a nice little pathway. I don't know. This is probably is that a palace? I don't know.
Probably.
Probably a palace. It might be Buckingham Palace, who knows? But like, you want to see these things, but like, so yeah, you see a lot of interference in the water because it was very cloudy. So moving water is a feature, not a flaw. But like, you can come in here and you can count the individual floors and the windows.
So is that what you're running your mouse over? A building, is it?
It's a building, yeah.
Okay, so this is looking at an oblique angle.
Yeah. We're looking at I don't know the geometry, but like, here's that egg building, right?
Okay.
And then whatever huge train station is in London.
Okay.
And these like, and then like, I don't know if you know this bridge in London.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out which bridges we're looking at. I might need you to zoom out a bit.
So there's a bridge with a glass top, and then these like arches underneath, and so you can see the arches.
Would that be the Tower of London? Or because you're also reminding me of a train station actually, which is on a bridge over the Thames. Blackfriars, I think. You can see Tower of London on the right there.
Right
you
here?
can see up a bit before the bend. Yeah, just there, I think. If you zoom in, because it looks like those are the towers at the. This is the tower at either end, but I could be totally wrong.
Those are buildings. God,
okay.
How good of a London person you are. You're too Australian. I'm
assuming this is a North Up image.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. This is from February. But like, again, it's like a Creative Commons image. Like, I could send that to you. You could put it on a T-shirt and go and have fun. Sell them at the corner store. Or go and pitch financial guys about your cool analysis of boats coming up the Thames. But let's take a bunch of pictures of London and we'll put them in the open data.
Yeah, appreciate it, Gabe. Yeah, I feel like I've got a new direction for this wherever this inquiry is going with this podcast. So yeah, good to have a practical. Great. Yes. Well, yeah, great to meet you. I'll let you get back to your busy day. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on and spending the time as we develop this direction on the podcast of Earth observation. So thanks very much.
It's awesome. Thank you. Take care.